Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classic Less Known Classics. This is episode number 2278 and Doubleshot number 2172. Now I have basically Avengers book and a Iron Man book. Yes, Iron Man. This is going to be interesting to start with this one. Okay, first we have is Avengers Epic Collection Volume 6, A Traitor Stalks Among Us. And yes, in the comic we have a brand new character. Those of you not familiar with this woman, that is Mantis. You're thinking, Mantis, didn't she show up in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, 3, and Infinity War and Endgame? Yes. She's a Steve Englehart character. And apparently, Steve Englehart owns the rights to this character for some reason, because of a brief period of time. This character, after she's appearing in Avengers, she decided to pop over DC and Willow for a bit and then come back to Marvel. Now, this trade in particular, we start off with Roy Thomas's run, which starts from issue from 98 to pretty much 104. He would leave the book and be replaced with Steve Englehart, who's actually here into issue 140. Well, actually, he's here up until mostly issue 152. He does skip a couple issues, but he's here for about 5 years. So yeah, we're here at the start of Engelhart's 5-year run for the book. Yes, 5 years. And he was also working on Captain America at the same point in time in this book. Yes. He also was working on Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, Defenders, which we'll get to the reason for that, Doctor Strange. Of course, he does the Giants book. I'll get to in their comic corner. He also worked on Incredible Hulk, the second volume during Mystery, Code the Destroyer, and this is basically the same period of time. He also worked on the Iron Fist feature for Marvel Premiere. Actually, it was Doctor Strange's one. Yes, Doctor Strange. He also worked on Marvel Premiere number 4, Master Kung Fu, Monsters on Parole, My Love, The Savager Code number 2, the Special Marvel Edition 516, basically because he worked on the first appearance of Shang-Chi. Superman Team 5 through 8, the 5th annual for Thor, and that was it. That's all in the same time period. Yes, was working on anything DC at this point in time? No. Well, he worked in DC a little bit afterwards, but basically I've discussed already his Mr. Miracle book, which is really good. So, for the first several issues in here, now basically this book contains issues 90 to 114 and issue 99 of Daredevil. Now, the issue with Daredevil, I've discussed already. Yeah, that comes just after issue 110. Actually, 99 111 basically is a 2-part crossover, which I'm not going to discuss that here, because I have discussed issues already when I talk about one of the Daredevil Epic collections. We also have co-writing duties in here in these issues from the late Harlan Ellison, Stan Lee, Steve Gerber, and Chris Claremont. And this is strange, though, that 3 of these writers are no longer alive. Yes. The artists are Barry Windsor-Smith, Rich Buckler, Don Heck, George Costa, Jim Starlin, Bob Brown, and Steve Kowalski. Now, like I mentioned, 98 to 104 are Roy Thomas's final issues in the book. Yes. He would leave after a certain period, after this period of time. This actually is one of his more longer books he did for Marvel, because he did a lot of X-Men issues, but I think he did more Avengers than he did X-Men. So there's one character called Warhawk. So they started basically in the aftermath of the classic Kree Skrull War. I think Hawkeye's dead, but nope, he's actually alive and well, and he's basically going back to being Hawkeye. They do explain in another issue of how the heck this happened. So if you're curious after dealing with these other people, then we have Hawkeye, who wears this outfit. Yes, this very outfit, this archer outfit, no mask, just basically this tunic, bracelets, and basically crafting a new bow. He wears this from this point forward up until issue 110. So he wears this for about for a little over a year. As for why in the world Roy Thomas thought this was a good idea, I have no idea. If I get a chance for Roy Thomas, I will ask that question. Why the heck putting this outfit for? Yeah, and pretty much this issue is a prelude as a setup for issue 100 for Avengers. That's most what this is. And 9 to 100 basically is a 2-parter okay, 99 does explain of how, basically, Hercules is injured, he's sick, and basically explains how Clint came of being Goliath. He apparently lost he stuck, eventually got back in normal, crafted new, but he just gave being Goliath during the Kree Skill War, and basically just battled his way out, and he survived. They do explain how he got his alpha he got in Mission 98. And of course, leads to the classic issue 100, which, here's the thing. This is the first of several big Triple H issues for Marvel. This is one of the more better ones they did for Avengers. The worst one being Avengers 200. Yeah, and there's a reason for that. It was the issue where found that Miss Marvel got pregnant, and turns out it was done via non-consensual stuff. Yep. But 100 issue, very nice. The fact that basically Roy Thomas did this for it. Basically, the whole point of this issue is that Captain America called every single person member of Avengers at this point in time, with the Swordsman, of course, basically that, well, then basically Harlan Ellison step in for an issue. Yes, Harlan Ellison doing one issue. Yeah, Roy Thomas did 90-100, but he did not do 101. That was all, actually, he co-wrote it with Harlan Ellison with issue 101. Most of it's like a standalone issue story. Fights this yellow monster. Watcher pops up for this issue. And, well, we deal with the Scarlet Witch. And 102 is quite something. This is a very historical issue, this one. Because, first, we get return of the Grim Reaper and two other characters who's not been seen at this point for 10 freaking years. Yep, so, yeah, the Grim Reaper's back. Yeah, and basically he confronts the Vision. Fun fact, this is the first time Vision ever met the Grim Reaper. Yes, a guy who occasionally haunts him over the years. And they fight, and then they see somebody who's not been seen since Avengers number 9. Wonder Man, who died back at his opening appearance, but yeah. So yeah, we have Scarlet Witch, basically, who's like, yeah, how can I talk about the moves on Scarlet Witch? Like, ooh, like, nope. Yeah, she is not interested in Clint at all. She wants the Vision. She wants that robot stuff. Yeah. And basically now we deal with a follow-up on the pages of X-Men. Yes, the whole thing where we had the Mark II Sentinels go to the moon, actually the sun, and, well, this is basically a follow-up to that, and Chris Clam basically coming to chip in for these issues because he wasn't technically the writer of King X at that point in time, but he would chip in to co-write these issues. And these issues in particular feature have the Avengers fight the frickin' Sentinels. Yep. And this lasts for the last couple issues of, well, Roy Thomas's run before he leaves and gets replaced with, of course, Steve Eichelhart. Yep. Yeah. And of course, Rick Jones tries to help out, but basically he gets cast aside. And then basically we have the final issue of Roy Thomas's run, issue 104, where basically Scarlet Witch basically tried to strike on her own. And it was basically like, well, it's also the conclusion of the Sentinel storyline, and I think in the finale it involves the death of, well, Bella Bartressa's son. And then basically 105 we see Return of the Black Panther. Yeah, and of course basically the whole thing is like she's searching for her brother now. Yes, her brother. Yeah, then we have Lorelei up here. She's a character from Thor. She also changed her sister. And then we have Mysterious Murder, Trade Among Us. Yes. Now I thought 102 was basically that. Nope, not yet. But we see return of we see everybody who's killing the Avengers. Yeah, it is somebody who's not been seen since issue 2. The Space Phantom. Yes, the Space Phantom. I'm like, really, Roy Thomas? You brought this guy back for your last issue? A guy who not been seen in 10 years? Yeah, and here's the thing. Guess people in the Avengers probably remember him. Iron Man. Yeah. Yeah, Space Man, who's working with the Reaper and then flees to 107. And this is, of course, after Roy Thomas left, basically. They bring in... and, of course, they deal with this for this multi-parter, which wraps up 110. Yeah. Yeah, wrap this up with one. Actually, I thought we were at 110. It looks like we wrap up with 108. Yeah, but this is a really exciting story arc here. And we also see appearances by Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel. He makes appearance here because Jim Kid was writing the book at the time. And then 109, simply put, basically is Clint goes back. I thought it was 110. It turns out it was actually 111. This issue in particular is the issue where Clint goes back to his, his old Jack Kirby costume. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's the thing. After this three-parter wraps up, the Space Van does not pop up again until Giant Size Avengers number 2. Or 4, excuse me. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they also bring up what happened. The pages of Mara feature with possibly Hank Pym being gone. And at 109, it's like, okay, let's have Hawkeye diss this outfit. You have practicing, of course, you have dealing with rejection from Scarlet Witch, so there was this guy called Champion. Yes, Champion. Now, if you're curious, is he the original villain? Yes, he is. He appears with one issue, and then he does not return again to issue 125, where he returns for a Wolverine story Marvel Comics presents in 1993. Point out, first appearance was in 1972. He didn't make an appearance again for 21 years later. He did recently return for this Conan Battle for Supercrime miniseries. But yeah, he's a minor villain at best. Yeah. So basically, Hawkeye quits the Avengers with issue 109. And then 110 is quite interesting. Yeah, and then of course he works with him. And this basically just like leads. Well, he already left the team this issue. He was doing it for quite later. We have 110 and 111. We have 110. This interesting. This actually is part one of a three-parter where it involves Magneto fighting the Avengers. First time since issue, like I think it was like 54. I think it was. Yeah, we have this really weird thing with you have Magneto wearing Archangel's costume. I think this was his first individual costume. Yeah, and then of course we're talking about the Daredevil in 111, which basically deals with the whole thing with Magneto. And of course, at the end of this multi-parter, Black Widow officially joins the Avengers with issue 111. Daredevil doesn't join the group officially until 2011. Yes. And then move on to, well, 112. Yeah, and basically Black Widow briefly leaves the group. Yep. Yeah, she just joined the group in the previous issue. And then, like, she quits the very next issue. Why? It's like, what was the point of her basically joining the group if she basically was going to leave anyways? Yeah, that makes no freaking sense at all. Yeah, probably because basically stuff yeah, and the thing with 112 is basically this is the issue. Like called Lion God, and we see the debut of this, and we see the debut of Mantis. Yes, Mantis. Yeah, this leads into it like next few issues basically with her joining the Avengers. Yep. Yeah, then of course in 112 they had to fix the stats already because it got damaged. So yeah. So yeah, this leads into 114, which has, well, with this issue in particular, has Mantis and the Swordsman joining the group. Now, the Swordsman, he's rejoined the Avengers while Mantis basically, well, joins the team with this very issue. Yep. Yeah. We also still with well, Crystal and Quicksilver with their romance. And of course, next issue they find the Black Knight. Yeah, that leads to the Avengers War. Yep. By the way, this covered the period of, if you're curious, covered the period of April 1972 to August of 1973. This book is great. I love it. I give the book I give it a 10 out of 10. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. Next up we have is something purely classic. We're going back to the 60s with this one. We have Marvel Masterworks Iron Man Volume 1. This collects Tales of Suspense, issues 39 to 50. Yes, we're going to the early years of Iron Man now. Because mostly I've covered, like, for comics wise for Iron Man, mostly from 04 to present. And a little bit of stuff here and there before then, but not from the 60s. I haven't touched the 60s at all. Now I'm covering the 60s. 39, of course, is the debut of Iron Man himself, obviously. Of Yang, the guy who helped basically design the suit. And, of course, a Chinese, basically what they describe him as a Vietnamese villain. A guy who, after this issue, does not return again until the year 2000. Yes. And you're thinking, really? Yeah, really. Wong Chu, Ho Yansen. Yeah, this was his solo appearance. Yeah, basically put like in the case of the movie, he basically was there just to help Iron build his suit. Wong Chu. Oh, after appearing in this issue, oh, that was 2000. Let's see. It's flashback. I think his next Chronicles Transfer actually was an Iron Man 144, which I believe was the issue that took place, like Apocalypse City. That's like right after the events of like the debut of him. But if you think of full prop appearance, it could be probably not that one. Yeah, I'd say probably his proper return for him is an Iron Man Volume 332. Yeah, and then of course he appears in the annual where he gets killed off. Yeah, this issue has been told a few times. Mostly put it's basically how it's basically the origin story of how Iron Man became the way he is. Basically, where you have Tony Stark, a greedy, basically a billionaire who gets captured first with weapons for the bad guys, and is building the Mark 1 armor, which, by the way, he keeps his armor for up until about issue 40, which he switched out the outfit for the Mark 2 armor. He actually actually repeat this armor with the very next issue. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then he slips on a coat, and then basically issue 40 is more stuff we familiarize with Iron Man. What is that, you might ask? Well, it's the debut of basically Stark International. Yep. You think, wait, Stark International? Yeah. As in Tony Stark's company. This issue was also noteworthy for the debut, I believe, Pepper Potts and I believe Happy also made his debut this issue, right? Um, no, but Stark International did make a first appearance this very issue. It's almost like slowly over the course of the issues, basically, that we just have, well, how should I put this? We just mostly have just basically Stan Lee just building up basically the character of Stan Lee, Roger Borsman, Jack Kirby just building up basically Iron Man's repertoire. So we have like 39 debut of Iron Man and Wo Chung and Ho Jansen. This issue, first appearance of Tony Stark's company. And I believe issue 41 is the debut of, let's see. Oh, basically, let's see. I thought they debuted that issue. I guess it was not that issue at all. Yeah, so then we have a guy called Doctor Strange, and it's not Stephen Strange. It's a guy called Carlos Strange. Yeah, the guy himself, basically, only he mostly put in this issue here. Like, after this issue, he returned again to the series Marvels. Yes, this guy made one appearance in this issue, and they returned from Marvels number 3 in 2020 when he got killed off in the final issue of the series by the Punisher. Yeah. 42 is the debut of a character called Red Barbarian, who by the way, got killed off in the Winter Soldier book. Yeah, here's the thing about this guy. Like, he appears for this very issue, and he's returned again to the Iron Man and Armor Wars miniseries. Returns from issue to Captain America, killed off in Winter Soldier 5. Yeah, he's basically another minor villain. We have a guy called Gory, another minor villain. Yeah, then we have Queen Kala make her debut in issue 43. She's a character who's still around today, kind of, because after this issue, she returned again to issue Fantastic Four. Was going to discuss we'll move forward, but she made Kane's appearance since then. Yes. And then in issue 44, we have basically Iron Man meeting Cleopatra for the first time. Yep, he meets Cleopatra. A woman described as one of the most beautiful women in history. Will actually return in another issue. Yeah, fights this one-shot villain called Mad Pharaoh for this one issue. Yep. You probably think, okay, where's Pepper? Where's Happy? Well, they finally make their debut in Tales of Suspense 45. Yes, 45. That's where they finally show up. And they fight this guy called Jack Frost. Jack Frost is the original Blizzard. Yeah, he got killed off in the 2018 Uniform Music Spider-Man. Yeah. Why he called himself Blizzard? Probably because some more cooler name than Jack frickin' Frost. Yeah, he's basically a minor Iron Man villain, but yeah, 45, debut of that. 46, we have debut of one of the most interesting villains in Iron Man history, the original Crimson Dynamo, who appears one more time after this to get killed off. Yeah. Yeah, isn't that something though? You have Crimson Dynamo, one of the most coolest designed villains in Iron Man history, and he makes only 2 appearances. Me. Now, if you're curious though, what does Crimson look like? That's him. That's the Mark 1 Crimson Dynamo. Yeah, his outfit is described as ridiculous, and it kind of is. Yeah, Crimson Dynamo. Basically, what he is basically Russian version of Iron Man. Who Iron Man had the trick in the story to work for him, and he's not getting the issue. He's not sneaking in into issue 52. 47, we have debut of the Melter. Who basically, with this issue here, we basically toward Iron Man stop using the Mark 1 suit. Yeah. The Melter is sadly no longer alive. He got killed off in issue 263 by the Scourge of the Underworld. Yeah. And then 48. Well, 48 is something quite interesting about this one. Because 48 is the debut of the Mark II armor. Yep, the Mark II. And you're thinking, Mark II? Yep, the Mark II armor. An armor that he would use for a certain period of time. Yeah, he used this armor. Even when he showed up in Avengers, he would show this up as armor. He would use this armor up until issue... When did Mark III show up? A little bit later, but yeah. We'll get to that. So, yeah, 47 is the last time we see Iron Man in his silver armor. Well, that was painted gold. Yeah. He would occasionally may put on, but he as a regular suit, he would not use that ever again. After that very issue. Nope. Never would. Why would that be? I don't know. But yeah, here it is. Mark II. Even I think one of the more long-running armors is actually Mark IV. Yep, so he basically kind of still wears Mark 1, but he's like, yeah, this is too bulky. Let's basically slim it down to much more. Here it is, Mark II. Still work in progress, basically. Still got the gold there, basically. But yeah, fights a guy called Mr. Doll. And if you're curious, though, like, who the heck is Mr. Doll? Well, after this very issue, he would not return again until an issue of Spider-Woman in 1978. Yeah. Yeah, basically, he appears once as an Iron Man villain and became a recurring Spider-Woman villain until he got killed in issue 12 of the first one for Spider-Woman. Oh, issue 48 is where basically we get the name for Stark International. Yep. And then issue 49, he fights Angel of the X-Men. Yeah. But then we have a historic issue. Issue 50 of Tales of Suspense. Why is issue 50 a historic issue, you might ask? Well, because issue 50 is the debut of the Mandarin. Yes, one of the most iconic Iron Man villains of the day. When people think of Iron villains, use the Mandarin as the first one to think of. And that's most of what this issue is. This is his debut, him taking Iron first time, and that's pretty much it. This book is just classic. I give this book a 10 out of 10. Okay, so that's it to view. Yeah, I'm going to do one more and then I'll go. Yes. So yeah, that's pretty much it, particular view. Next I'm going to do one more comic corner and I'm going to go ahead and just, well, I'll be back. Let's see. Alright, so that's the particular view. Next up is just one more comic corner. I'll take a break, come back, and work on the next stuff, okay? Next video. Bye.